Hey guys, it's me, Bricks and Kyber, and holy crap, thank you for all the support on my last video. It's been extraordinary and I'm so happy you all enjoyed it. And I can't wait to continue this series as I'm having a heck of a time making these videos. But without any more stalling, let's get into the movies that I watched last week and which of them I recommend for the weekend. So this week we have 10 movies to go through, starting with Martin Scorsese's Age of Innocence. Now, Age of Innocence is very interesting as it's basically a story of a love triangle in the early 20th century. I mean, the movie is really fantastically executed with some charming performances, as I mentioned before. However, while that is great and the sets are lavish and the shots are very engaging, the entire premise didn't really grab my attention too. I can definitely see what Scorsese was going for with this one, and I do appreciate that. I do appreciate the originality, especially when looking at other films in his filmography. This film really shows how versatile of a director he is, and I think that is really special. But maybe I hyped this movie too much for myself, as I just couldn't really get engaged at all, and the great pacing that most of his films are known for. So as it stands, I'd unfortunately have to give it a pass on The Age of Innocence. Well, it is very compelling, it just isn't for me. It's a 6 out of 10 for me. However, if you do like romance dramas, then I'd say give it a shot. Maybe you'll enjoy it more than I did. Next, I saw a much different film, Kurosawa's Throne of Blood. As a big Kurosawa fan, this was a fantastic watch. The shots were absolutely phenomenal, and the camera work was brilliant as well, with some great performances. And while it is really just Macbeth with samurai, you could say, it is at the same time a very original and a faithful adaptation, which I know is a bit of a dichotomy here, but I'd still highly recommend it, especially if you read the play Macbeth or you like Shakespeare's work, as I think you'll find it very original and very faithful at the same time. As I said, it's just a very interesting dichotomy, and I really did enjoy this Kurosawa flick, and while it wasn't my favorite Kurosawa film that I saw, I'd say it is definitely high up there, and it was very well made and very engaging all the way out throughout. Then I moved on to a Kosinski film, Only the Brave, and unlike Oblivion, Only the Brave was very engaging and very thoughtful and thought-provoking. You had Miles Teller and Josh Brolin teaming up in a firefighter drama. Now, a firefighter drama doesn't really sound that interesting, but Kosinski made it extremely interesting and extremely emotional as well, which was surprising to me. The movie also stars Jennifer Connelly and Jeff Bridges, which was surprising to me, but they both gave genuine performances. However, what was most surprising to me was how genuine the entire picture felt, and how heartwarming it was, and how emotional it made me feel. I mean, Kosinski is great at capturing heartfelt emotions and making his characters feel real. However, not only that, his characters just feel so genuine. Like, the banter they have between each other feels so natural. I really just enjoyed that. That must have been my favorite aspect of this film, and I think this film really sold the people at Paramount that Joseph Kosinski would be able to do such a good job with Top Gun Maverick, as there are many similarities to Top Gun Maverick in this film, which can definitely be noticed in this one, especially during the closing minutes of this movie. I mean, oh my god, I thought about that ending scene for a long time during this week, and I'd highly recommend this one. 8 out of 10 from me. Speaking of more great movies, then on Tuesday I've had quite a change as I watched a recent film, Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among the Thieves, and it really subverted my expectations, I must say. I mean, this was a great adventure movie all around and a great fantasy movie, with some witty performances and really charming characters, especially Chris Pine's lead. I was really shocked how well he nailed this character and how likable he was. Just a really fun movie, and I think that is the best way to describe it. Just a fun, creative, and goofy movie that was entertaining in every way you want your blockbuster to be entertaining, making it, in my opinion, the perfect movie to recommend for the weekend. So 8 out of 10, go watch it, really fun. As for the second movie that I watched that day, oh, it's quite the polar opposite, as I saw Sam Mendes' Revolutionary Road, a movie that also focused on a romantic relationship that had troubles. However, They are just two completely different movies, as both deal with different aspects of a relationship and different situations in a romantic relationship. However, the issues presented in Revolutionary Road felt much more thought-provoking to me, and that is mostly, I think, due to the performances given by Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, which were at the top of their game in this one. However, a notable performance as well in this film was Michael Shannon, who really just stole every scene he was in, and it really shocked me. This film just really felt more like a play, and in the best way possible. I especially enjoyed really the subtle use of handheld camera to really exaggerate the emotions and make the different arguments feel more raw and powerful. And while the movie is very emotional at points and very hard to watch, I'll still say it is a great film and I'd highly recommend it. 8 out of 10, and it really just shows, similarly to The Age of Innocence, how Sam Mendes is really versatile as a filmmaker. I mean, he did make the Bond films, then he made 1917, American Beauty. I mean, the guy is just great and releases a banger after a banger. So I can't wait to watch more of his films that I haven't seen yet. Finally, the last film on Tuesday that I watched was John Wick. As I continued the John Wick saga, I watched John Wick Chapter 2. And it was fun. I mean, what's there to say really about it? That's the best way to describe it as well. Similarly to Dungeons and Dragons, it was basically the same movie as the first one, except it had less of an emotional message and mostly focused on the action scenes, and the action scenes were really solid. However, I do think the first one is overall better as a film, yet, I mean, John Wick 2 just had some expertly choreographed action scenes, and for that I'd have to recommend it. It's just a really fun time. However, I will say the ending of this film was quite shocking, and I did enjoy it a lot. That's why I just have to recommend it, especially for the weekend. Give it a watch, 7 out of 10. Unfortunately, the movie that I watched the next day wasn't so fun, as I watched Bruce Almighty, which I was excited for as it stars Steve Carell and Jim Carrey, both comedic actors that I really like. However, this comedy in particular just really felt flat. I was hoping for something like Liar Liar or Agent Van Ventura. However, I was really disappointed. I mean, the comedy just really felt flat, and the entire film felt like a drag. It felt so long as well, and it was just really disappointing with some stiff gags and overused tropes. 4 out of 10. This one is a pass easily. Luckily for me, later that day, I watched a brilliant film which was Rian Johnson's first film, Brick. And I must say, I was a really big fan of this one. I mean, I do like Rian Johnson's films altogether, especially some of his most recent films like Knives Out and The Last Jedi, but this just really felt special and really personal, and especially after reading the story behind this film and how it got made, you can really tell that Rian Johnson just poured his heart and soul into this one, with an engaging lead performance by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, a very underrated actor of our generation, similar to Joel Edgerton, but enough of that. What stood out to me especially in this film was the world building and the entire idea of a criminal underworld in a high school. And it just really felt like a gangster film, but again, it was in high school. It's such an imaginative idea, and it was so creatively executed. I just can't recommend this film enough, and it was very inspiring for me, and I can't wait to rewatch it. I'll probably rewatch it soon in a couple of months, because truly this was such a breath of fresh air, and I highly recommend it to anyone, especially for the weekend. I mean, it's a great murder mystery, but it's also just a really engaging film, and a really engaging thriller, I'd say, as well. Just some great performances, quite cheesy and quite comedic at times, but also deeply serious. So go give it a watch. Finally, on Friday, I watched the two final films, each very different. First one being In the Name of the Father, starring Daniel Day-Lewis yet again this week. However, this time I enjoyed the film far more. I mean, this movie was shocking for me. I did not expect it to be this well made and hit me so hard, especially after, learning that this film was of course based on a true story. I mean, it's truly just tragic, and Lewis was just exhilarating, giving what I believe is one of his more underrated performances. At every moment of the film, you really felt pity for his character, Jerry, and his father as well, going to prison for this thing that they didn't do. It truly just felt the entire situation felt very Kafkaesque, and you know, it's fascinating to me that this actually happened. It's truly tragic, and I think the movie is very, very well made, and the performances are extremely emotional, especially the interrogation scene. I mean, that scene alone is just masterful and masterfully executed. I'd highly recommend this one, especially as soon as you can. Just give it a watch. Great film, very underrated. Finally, the last film I watched was Fincher's The Game, starring Michael Douglas and Sean Penn. Quite an interesting film, and I was very excited to watch this film, as the concept to me was very engaging. You know, this lonely millionaire engaging in this game, and then it turns to sort of this chase all around the places that he knew from his past and things like that. I mean, the concept itself was very, very engaging, and the film was very well executed, I must say. I mean, the script was just fantastic. I mean, Fincher's style really fit the story perfectly, and the character of Michael Douglas was weirdly enough for three-dimensional and very, very well written, which we didn't expect for a script like this. And that really shocked me the most. However, I will say I think I expected a bit more from this film, and that's mostly due to the ending, as there are many twists in the ending, and I'm not sure if the movie ending a bit more early would have been a bit better. However, nonetheless, it was still very fun throughout, and you know, it really kept you in your seat and engaged all the way through. It was a very masterfully executed thriller, which is to be expected from Fincher, so in that way, I really wasn't disappointed. Just some great work, great cinematography as well. I mean, the shots in this movie were stunning, and the camera work so smooth, as usually it is for Fincher. Just a phenomenal film. Highly recommended. Go give it a watch. And why not now, since it's the weekend? 8 out of 10 yet again. So that was it, guys. Those are the films that I picked this week and I watched this week, and I picked the films for you. And if I were to put in 3 main recommendations from this week like I did last week, then it would definitely be In the Name of the Father, followed by Brick, finally Only the Brave. So I hope you guys enjoyed these films. As always, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next week. Bye bye.